Hey, what's going on, JJ Crew? Journey John here, and welcome to Karnage Chronicles, a VR RPG game available on Steam. It might be available on the Oculus Store as well. I'm not 100% sure on that. I think it is.
I know that.
But this is probably my favorite RPG game, like made for VR. Obviously, you have the likes of Skyrim and Fallout, but those are technically like a normal console or PC ported game over to VR rather than just being made directly for a VR user. And I am playing this on the Oculus Quest 2, as you can see in the footage there in my webcam. It works really well, I would say. Visual clarity is very nice. The environments are pretty, I would say, simple, but they get pretty interesting. Each level design, each dungeon that you go into has a very distinct look and feel to it, as well as distinct enemies that you'll be finding as well. So in this one, we're fighting some it's kind of a classic cave dungeon with goblins and wolves and stuff, with some dwarven ruins and artifacts and stuff strewn throughout.
Yeah, this one's only $300.
The game runs really well, I would say. And it does have up to 4-player co-op. You can drop in and out. It works pretty well. I've had a couple of crashes, but I wouldn't read too much into that, as I've also got a CPU overclock as well that I'm not sure is 100% stable on my Ryzen 2700X, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. I really like the combat in this game. It's a lot of fun. It's also very exhausting. I could play this game up to 3 hours at a time right now. I'm not super physically fit, so it's definitely makes for a good workout. And I like, as you can see here, they're shooting arrows and they'll stick in us, and you can actually grab them and yank them out. And it's kind of like what's the game called, the robot game, Robo Recall, where you can so you can grab the arrows and apparently you can throw them back at the enemies. I've only managed to hit them that way twice. I haven't actually killed anyone doing that yet. But the bow and arrow combat is very fun. You have 2 classes that you can choose from at the very beginning in the tutorial. You have, I believe it's a warrior and an archer. So we're playing as an archer, where you have daggers, and you can use a shield. I don't know why you would, but you can do that if you want to. And you also obviously get a bow and arrow. So
What was that?
for the warrior, you have a long sword as well as a crossbow that has a hand crank. And so my friend Rot, we were playing some co-op yesterday, and he was telling me that the hand crank for the crossbow, you hold it in your right hand and you're cranking it with your left hand, but the crank doesn't the collision on it whenever you're cranking it with your left hand, it doesn't actually grasp onto it, so you actually have to hold it onto where the crank is positioned, which makes reloading it pretty difficult in the middle of a firefight. But if you're playing as a warrior, you can also grab a regular bow off of loot drops out in the environment and stuff, so it's nice. It would be good if they improved the functionality of the hand crank, but considering how long the game's been out at this point, I don't know how many changes are going to be coming to it.
We'll use
The melee combat is actually very satisfying. So there's another very good VR RPG in the case of Asgard's Wrath on the Oculus Store, and I would say that the melee combat is very similar between the two. You can get stuns and stuff, as you can see there. He'll kind of lose stamina or whatever, and just give you a free hit on him if you hit him enough. And then you can block attacks. You can even block arrows and stuff if you do it properly. And sometimes if you're using a sword, instead of grabbing the arrow, you can just kind of break it off and it'll go away. Each environment has just regular mobs, which is what we're fighting here. But there are also secret bosses, which we're gonna encounter one here in a second. And you can see on my left hand, I'm using a bear claw. which is a secret boss, or not really a secret boss, but like one that you don't exactly have to fight to progress through the mission. So like more of a side boss, really. And we're gonna fight another one of those. Well, I would say this next one is not a side boss, since you actually need an item to open the gate later. But yeah, it does have bosses. In the next level, you actually fight a really cool boss, but I'm not gonna say too much about it in case you want to play it or check it out later. So for the co-op, it works really well. It's very seamless co-op. You can do just friends. We were trying to figure out how to make it so that you can mute your friends in the game. For myself, I was not hearing my friend Rot in the game, but he could hear me, and there was no setting that we could find in the menu to turn that off. So I don't know exactly what was going on there. I just ended up, he was in a Discord chat with me, and so I would mute myself in Discord, and I could hear him through that, and then he would hear me through the game. It's not exactly ideal, but we did make it work. You can see this guy, I'm just kind of cheesing him because I kept doing like a downward slash and it would keep stunning him, so I just kept doing that over and over and over again because he was getting really close to killing me. And I will say that if you play in co-op, it works a lot like Borderlands does, in that they increase the amount of enemies that you're going to encounter, and they also have increased health and damage. So it does up the difficulty quite a bit the more people you get into a game. But it's also very fun. And it works to your advantage because you're going to hit, there's a checkpoint system. And so if you're not able to make it through the next checkpoint, at least in single player, and you die, you'll respawn back at that point, and then all the enemies will also be respawned. Whereas if you're playing co-op, you have the option, as long as your partner is still alive, to come back and keep helping out with the fight. So it kind of balances out with the extra difficulty there and the combat itself.
Inventory full.
I think this is probably one of the better inventory systems for a VR game. I like this inventory better than Asgard's Wrath, where you actually have to go into a separate menu. It does have like a radial quick menu that you can use, but I like this, that you can just toggle it on and off with a single like face button. I believe I want to say it's Y on the Oculus controller.
No way.
And then you have up to 5 quick slots if you get the upgrade for it. So the way the quick slots work is you have 2 slots for your right and left hand. So we have swords and that bear claw for the first one, bow and arrow for the second one, and then on the third one we have a mining tool that we can use. So you just swap between those fairly quickly. There's some like interaction stuff that I feel could be a little bit better. The grip and the trigger both serve the same functionality, which is kind of annoying whenever you're like trying to do, there is dialogue with NPCs between missions, and you can choose like your dialogue options, but to do that you have to click on the trigger, which also like flips your sword or whatever. So it's a little bit awkward. It'd be nice if those were separated out into different functionality. You don't have to use the grip trigger, the grip button to actually grab things in the world. You just kind of hover your weapon or whatever over it, and it'll just go straight into your inventory, which is kind of nice.
I probably should still do that, but hold on.
But I was just trying to think. There's another functionality that would be better. Oh yeah, so for like the scroll, I can't use it when I have my bow equipped because my left hand doesn't, it's just a bow. So I have to swap over to my pickaxe so I can actually like grab the scroll and bring it out and stuff. And then so there's also potions that you can find out in the environment. They work much the same way as like Skyrim or whatever kind of fantasy RPG you want to think of. You can find potions that give you like extra damage, extra health, extra crit chance, And there's ones that are like give you fire breath and stuff. The shops are pretty nice. They're so far
You can change it.
we found
I just use it all
2
the
different
time.
shops.
If
So I
you go
believe
to
every level that you come to, you'll
options,
find
advanced, you can do
probably a
smooth
new
turning,
shop
90 degree,
where you can buy
45.
upgraded weapons and armor
You can even
and
do
whatnot.
apparently 180 degree flip.
It does have a few options for
I always
just,
do that, just because it's easy for me to keep myself
VR,
oriented towards the PC.
motion
reason I
control
do it.
options, like comfort, motion comfort.
Even though it's over here.
So I always play with the 45-degree rotate, just so I can keep myself oriented mostly in the direction that I want to be facing.
Most games give you that option.
And then I just do like smooth
whatever you're most
locomotion
comfortable
because that's the most
This is what
comfortable
I'm
for
the
me.
most used to. Oh, I need to sell stuff, don't I? Alright, so we're gonna sell this junk. Sell that. Goodbye, Bear Claw. It's nice knowing you. Buy plate.
There's also a lot of like selling and stuff, as you can see here.
Oh, you're good, man. No worries. That's
No,
what we're here for.
actually really like the weapon and armor
One thing I
designs
like
in the
about
game. I think
these
they remind me a lot of
is I
like
feel like I have to take the lid off of them to use
armor
them.
from
Because then I
Skyrim.
have to have a
Some of the
little
armor that we're
handle.
using like right here reminds me of like the glass
I
armor,
don't know.
or you could even say it looks similar
Maybe
to
we'll
like
just
the
keep
dragon bone
this
armor as well.
open and buy
And
the
so here
backpack.
we're buying a backpack so
I
we
need
can
this. I need it.
have extra inventory slots. So I don't.
Yeah.
You can see right there, it's got like the 2 bags that you
So
click on
now
to
we
switch
double-
between
Yeah,
the
get
2.
this.
And it
46
is
damage.
worth
Yeah.
grabbing upgrades and stuff because the further you
Yeah,
get
let's do
into
that.
the missions, the more powerful the enemies
Okay.
will become. The sense of progression is actually really,
So we
really
didn't keep this
nice.
very
It's
long,
got some fun puzzles as well throughout the game. I want to say
we'll
I've
put that
encountered like 5 different
here.
puzzles so far in the first couple levels.
That's my dominant hand. Yeah, they're about
And the
same
boss
length anyways.
fights have gotten more and more interesting the more we progress through the game as well. Like the first
Alright.
dungeon you go into, the one we're
So
playing through
good.
right now, has very basic enemies. But
shit.
the dungeon after this it's got its own theme of like
I saw the other guy over here.
poison and fungus and like things that have been
Oh,
overgrown.
you gotta be kidding.
So it works into the design of the enemies and stuff as well. I really like archery in VR. I think that's probably one of the most fun things to do. Obviously, you don't have like you don't feel the resistance of the string of the bow.
I think they
but-
said that's how it works.
It's it's much more natural than just like moving your mouse cursor around and aiming like that. It's a lot more satisfying to actually like get a good hit on somebody.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And then it feels more rewarding. The turns that these guys do and like
I'd
the
imagine
ducks
that
from
with
the
a shield, you
headshots
can
is
just
very
block these arrows.
fairly cheeky, but it makes for
You
an
can't just
amusing
get a
combat
shield.
experience, I would say. Overall, I would say that I really
go.
like the game. There are some like there's some minor nitpicking I have in terms
can
of
I?
like
I don't know. Can you unlock this door?
interaction and control schemes, I would say. But for the most part, the game is very, very fun. The combat is a great time. Being able to play with
I don't
4
know.
or 3 of your friends is obviously great.
That's a good question.
I believe the performance takes a little bit more of a hit
I don't know for
if
this
you're
game.
playing
Like, I know other
with
games
another
have that,
person.
where, like, you have
I
more
was
stability
seeing more stuttering and
using
stuff
more than one hand.
yesterday when I was playing with my friend Rot. I believe that's down to the fact that you just have another
Oh, he got me.
dude in there that's
Mother-
creating
Get
like
the arrow out.
a
There we
they,
go.
not I mean for one it's also having to render another player, but it's
Oh,
also
is this
like
the keys
each
for?
attack that you have has like a bunch of particle effects that go off, and so you have
Oh,
the
yeah,
addition of
sure.
another player as well as
You're
more
not wrong.
enemies than you do when you're playing solo. So you do want to make sure that your PC can handle it. I would say if you're playing solo, it doesn't actually require a whole lot. I'm playing on a 1080 Ti and I've got
So,
like
I'm curious. I just want to try one of
up
these
to
pushing
40%
things.
headroom from what I was seeing
I wanna
in the
try
in the
this.
performance graph
We
for
pushing
the
a fire
Oculus
breath?
diagnostics tool that you can use.
Oh, okay,
there
okay.
there are instances to where you'll be fighting like an archer and you'll get an arrow stuck in your hand
So
when
I
you're
don't
trying to
have
shoot arrows
to.
back.
I mean, I
It
kinda
actually
looked at
like
it, but
you won't be able to fire your arrow. I don't know if that's intentional or not. I'm going to assume it's probably
depends
not.
on how much you play.
But that is another issue that you'll have
I mean,
with
if
the
you're playing,
combat.
like in the afternoon tomorrow, I won't be on. Until
It doesn't
10
happen
anyway,
like
so
super
you can
often,
probably catch up.
and it's not like a big issue, but it does get kind of frustrating. But yeah, guys, if you're looking for an RPG to play on VR, and you're looking at getting an Oculus Quest 2,
Okay.
I would highly recommend picking up this game on Steam, especially
It's all right.
with the. I'm sure there's going to be another sale coming up here in the winter, so that would be a good opportunity. I got this up, picked this one up during Thanksgiving. I picked up a lot of other VR games as well that we're going to be doing first impressions on and stuff, and once we finish this game, I'll also be doing a small review video, so come back and check that out. So if you want to watch that, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and leave a comment. It does help out with the statistics and with the YouTube algorithm, so helps to get us some more views and whatnot. So it would be much appreciated. And also check us out on Twitch. We're actually going to be streaming this until we finish the game every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then we're doing Destiny 2 right now every Tuesday, Thursday. So hopefully the more we play this, the better I'll get at the game, the more I can play without getting completely exhausted before the end of it, and we'll even like get some good exercise out of it, lose some weight and whatnot. So I'm having a good time. If you have this game, I'd love to find more people to play with as well.
I'm like going through the guy. Shit.
You know, the more the merrier, always. And yeah, we'll see y'all later. Have a good one, guys. Have fun.